Alright, so everybody's going crazy about President Trump's pick for the Supreme Court, and it's hilarious to watch. My name is George Santiago, and you're watching the George Santiago Show, Taking Back America. And no, I'm kidding. There's no show. It's just George Santiago. But that's not a bad idea, though. Just thought of that. Who knows? Huh? What do you think? Taking Back America? Anyways, whatever. Listen. It's getting out of control as usual, and I said it's hilarious, but really it's not. It's actually sad to watch what's happening. I do, however, have a couple of criticisms on both sides of the aisle. Okay, as a conservative, I do think President Trump has made a good pick. Two very good picks, actually, if we count counting Justice Gorsuch. So, like I said, conservatives do have good reasons, for being going out of their minds happy. However, I really don't think the left has any reasons to be going berserk. As it's usually the case, they're just making a big fuss out of, a big nothing, as always, as usual, as expected. Anyways, so here goes. My criticism on the right first, being that I'm on the right. I am a conservative. Full disclosure, I am a conservative. My criticism on the right is that we have been criticizing the left for years, especially President Obama for their appointing of activist judges, for making sure that they make law from the bench, which is something that the Supreme Court, or any court for that matter, was never intended to do. It was never intended by the founding fathers of this country, by the writers of the Constitution. They never intended for the courts to be making law rather than interpret the law as written. Okay, so with all these openly liberal activist judges being appointed, and having them openly act as such over the last several decades, we have been criticizing the left for it since then. I, for one, am an avid critic of activists in Rome, so to speak. So now the right is going ecstatic about the appointing of conservative judges. Well, that's hypocritical. That is incredibly hypocritical, because what's the difference, okay? And that's constitutionally speaking. What is the difference between a leftist activist judge and a right-wing activist judge? I mean, if you're complaining about the left using activist judges to push their agenda, how different are you from them when you cheer a right-wing, a conservative activist judge? There's no difference. An activist judge is an activist judge. An activist judge is making law from the bench, which is unconstitutional, which is wrong. It's not what they were meant to do. care if the judge is a conservative or a progressive. Laws are not to be made from the bench. The bench is supposed to interpret the law as written on a case-by-case manner. And naturally on a constitutionality basis. That was hard. That's it. That's it. So can we? And here's what's really bugging me about this whole thing. You know, about the right. You know, being all happy and you know, letting off fireworks, pretty much, about the conservative judge being appointed. My biggest problem is that, aside from the hypocrisy, of course, is that he's not a conservative judge, so to speak. He is a conservative, but judicially speaking, Judge Kavanaugh, or soon to be hopefully Justice Kavanaugh, is a constitutional. He's a constitution defender. He is, judicially speaking, he is a defender of the Constitution, and he's what some refer to as a so he's a constitutionalist and a textualist or something. It's the term I heard someone use, meaning he defends the Constitution, he interprets the Constitution as written. He interprets the cases. His opinions are based on the text of the law and the text of the Constitution. So that's why I said conservatives should be extremely happy about this pick, about this nominee, but not because now we all of a sudden have an activist conservative on the bench. No, not at all. Same goes for Justice Neil Gorsuch. I love it, you know, that he's there, but not because he's a conservative. Rather because he is a constitutionalist judge. He will, and always has, interpreted the law as written, and all of his Constitution opinion have been based on the Constitution as written. Same goes for Kavanaugh. Now, I haven't done a lot of research on Kavanaugh, but based on what I've heard experts say and a little bit I read about him, I'm happy. But again, not because he's going to be an activist, a counter activist to the leftist activist judges. No. He will, yes, in effect, fight the as Gorsuch, fight the activism from the left, but not for activism's sake. He will fight the activism simply by interpreting the Constitution as the Constitution is, on a case-by-case manner. Simple, okay? But that's why we should be happy. Not because we're hoping for another activist. That's hypocritical, for one, and that's wrong. That's just flat out wrong. So can we please stop calling Neil Gorsuch and soon to be Justice Kavanaugh conservative judges, because they're not. They are constitutionalists. Nothing more, nothing less. Alright, moving on. On the left. Can we please get off the fear-mongering bandwagon for once? For once, okay? Roe v. Wade will not, likely at least, be overturned. It's just not. Every time a conservative judge is appointed, we have this fear-mongering, this people going crazy and protesting and because Roe v. Wade is now on the chopping block, and oh my God, we have people saying that the Republic itself is on the chopping block. Really? Because we have. So let me see if I get this straight. The Republic itself is on the chopping block, is on the guillotine. Because why? We have appointed two, not one, but two, not conservative, constitutionalist judges to the Supreme Court. Really? Because we have appointed two judges who will uphold the Constitution as written. Two judges who believe in the separation of powers as prescribed by the Constitution. Two judges who believe in small government and giving the states the power it's due, and limiting the government, limiting the federal government. That's really, I mean, you've got to be insane to even say something like that. But aside from that, even if Roe v. Wade does get overturned, it doesn't mean the end of abortion, people. All it means is the decision reverts back to the states where it should be in the first place. You see, if there's something about Roe v. Wade I honestly believe should be argued in the first place, is whether or not the federal government even has the authority to dictate this type of law. In my opinion, it doesn't. In my opinion, based on what I've read about the Constitution and several expert interpretations of it, the federal government has zero authority dictating laws surrounding abortion. That is something that should be left up to the states. My opinion. And that of several experts, but anyways. Hey, here's an idea. Why don't we get that to the Supreme Court? Why don't we have the Supreme Court argue that premise? And then if they do decide whether or not, if they do decide that yes, the federal government does have that authority, now we talk Roe v. Wade. I mean, that's, that would be the logical place to be. That would be the logical thing to do. Constitutionally speaking, that is. But, again, so even if Roe v. Wade does get overturned, that doesn't mean the end to abortion. That doesn't mean the end of women's right to choose. Okay? Now, full disclosure though, yes, I am a conservative. However, I am pro-choice, okay? I do believe in a woman's right to choose. I do believe that a woman has the right to choose what she does with her body. Okay? And I do not believe life starts at conception. I think life starts at birth. That's my opinion. We can debate that later on. I can give you all the reasons, all the science, and all the premises or whatever. I can give you all my reasoning for it on a later date, later video, maybe. I don't know. But that's not the point. The point is, I believe women should have the right to choose. However, I also believe Roe v. Wade should be overturned. Okay? Because as I said before, I don't think the federal government... Oops, got dark again. Bridge. Overpass. Whatever. I do not believe the federal government has the right or the authority to dictate this issue. That is something that should be left up to the states. Therefore, yes, by all means, overturn Roe v. Wade and return the power back to the people, back to the states, okay? And let the states decide what to do with it based upon what the people of that particular state want. That is the sole purpose of the separation of powers. That is the sole purpose of federalism, okay? That is the reason why the United States is not a democracy. We are a constitutional republic. We are a republic, not a democracy. Because the states should have due power. The states have their own sovereignty. That's why each state even has their own constitution. Now, that constitution is tied to the federal constitution and, yada, yada, yada. But anyways, so yes, by all means, overturn Roe v. Wade, give the power back to the states, and let the states deal with it. It's very simple. Very simple. Now, I get it, why liberals and progressives and Democrats in general are going berserk over it. Especially if you're in a deep red state like Wyoming or something. You might be afraid that if Roe v. Wade gets overturned, then your state will ban abortion. Not an unreasonable position, not an unreasonable line of thinking. Actually, several states does have a high likelihood of having that happen, to be fair. So I can see why, a lot of you would be upset if Roe v. Wade does get overturned. I'll give you that. Now, granted, the vast majority of the states, first off, pretty much every single coastal state would uphold it, with the exception of maybe Texas. But Florida, although is a battleground state, highly unlikely it would ban abortions. And in the other states, maybe 10, 12 states would ban it. Tops. So even if Roe v. Wade does get overturned, the likelihood of you having a state, right next to you to where you can go to have your abortion and come back is extremely high. There's really no need for all this fuss, for all these shenanigans. Come on. Let's face it. These protests have absolutely nothing to do with the fear of Roe v. Wade being overturned. It has everything to do with the resist movement. I mean, they were already, they didn't even know who was being nominated, and they already had, all those protests planned in advance, ahead of time. But they were already gathered there before the announcement was even made. Which means all those signs, everything was done in advance. So regardless of who Trump had nominated, we would have seen this. I mean, heck, even if Trump had nominated an openly liberal judge, likely we would have seen this. Likely we would have seen people protest against it. They would find a reason. They would find something, an excuse, rather, to protest against it. So, come on, let's face it. There's no reason for all this. There's really no reason for all this. Roe v. Wade will not get overturned. And even if it does, big if, huge if, there's no reason why most of the states would ban abortion. It's just not gonna happen. So let's get it together and stop this fuss. I mean, it's getting ridiculous. And quite frankly, divisive, very divisive. On the left and on the right, though, I'm not solely blaming this on the left. The right has its faults too when it comes to this. So, please, let's get off the fear-mongering bandwagon. Screw our heads on straight and stop this madness. What do you say?